Hi, I would like to welcome you today to our webinar on 11 ways to create an engaged workforce. Today what we want to deal with is just an overview of how technology can help us with an employment engagement and just discussing these 11 ways in a brief detail. So if you do have other questions or require any other information, please give us a holler or check with our ebook, which is available on our website, and there will be an address at the end of this presentation. So with that, let's move to the agenda. So today what we want to talk about is people our best investment, and just briefly describe what's going on and why we consider them an investment. We're going to discuss briefly the 11 ways and how we can engage our employees. And then what we want to do is just take a look at how technology can be used to help solve some of the engagement issues, which are the measurement, business improvement, access to information, helping employees perform their jobs, caring for the employees, and finishing up with keys to success in actually implementing any of these systems, and then questions. So people. What do we talk about with people? Well, how we manage and engage people really can make a huge difference to our corporations. As been listed in lots of the literature that's been coming out with regards to employee engagement, 84% of the Canadian employees are not engaged. And really, it's not so bad in Canada as anywhere else, because lots of the companies all over the world have got very, very poor engagement with regards to employees. And the next understanding is this, is that there's a direct correlation between really engaged employees and happy employees and business results. You will find, if you're actually keeping track of how happy your employees are, that within a year after your employee engagement or your happiness of your employees goes up, your business results will also improve. I mean, you think about it as an employee that's at the front line talking to a customer and they're not happy with the business that they're in. They tend to be very abrupt, they aren't good, and therefore the customer service is poor, and therefore it relates into business results. The other thing with people we need to understand is this, is that really the world is changing over to what we call a knowledge worker, where the employee value is really creating more wealth, as described in the next line, which is the chief source of wealth is intellectual capital. And therefore, if you think about it, I mean, why is GM not nearly as valuable as an Apple Computers or as a Google? Google really doesn't build anything. And so they don't have any manufacturing sites. They don't have any of the major equipment and the investment in that. What they have invested, though, into is employees. And so really what we have to do is treat our employees as an investment. And an investment really defined as a cost that creates a future value that pays over time. And so understanding, if we actually are investing in our employees so that their skill levels are going up, so that they understand more, so that we get more knowledge out of them and we can get the knowledge out of them, we will get that future value out, as Google has, and that's why their value is so high. Okay, does that make sense? All right, let's just briefly go through the 11 ways to create an engaged workforce. And so I'm not going to go through these in detail, because we are going to talk about these from the different views and the issues, which is the measurements, and we'll describe that in just a second. But really, why? What this is all about? If you read these things, really what it's talking about is let's just treat our darn employees the way that we would like to be treated. And so to do that, you know, let the employees know that they're appreciated. Offer praise and say thank you, but make sure that it's justified. Give them a voice, right? Don't punish them when they think out of the box. Encourage and support the growth by offering challenges, right? Involve the workforce in process improvements, right? Be honest and open, right? Really, these are like motherhood type of statements, but understand lots of companies are failing on these, and as a result, our employees are not as engaged. And so we will be referring to these as we go through, but understand really what it is. It's about us trying to treat our employees as we would like to be treated. And so let's just go through and talk about the engagement issues. And what I would like to do is just define it from this point of view. It's the measurement issues that are out there. And how do we solve those? And then business improvement issues and organization improvement issues, and how do we solve those? How do we give access to information? How do we help our employees perform their jobs? And how do we care for our employees so that they know that we care about them? And because if they care about them, every one of these things will actually drive more engagement, which will in turn provide better results for the companies. So technology can certainly help with that. But let's just go into the first one, which is the measurement side now. And understand what we've done is we've taken measurement and then I've divided it up into ways to engage. And so number 3, or number 1, number 3, number 7, these are just on these 11 ways that we're talking about. So we're going to be talking about these in more detail as we go through, but we're going to be dealing with it from the particular point of view of what can technology do to help us. So how do we let employees know that they're appreciated? By offering praise and saying thank you. This also comes with the other side of it, is that we only want to praise when they're actually doing a good job, not the ones that are doing a bad job, because it becomes dysfunctional if we do that. If we give praise to an employee that doesn't deserve it and the other employees see that, it loses all of that engagement and it's gone away. So how do we actually develop a system where we can actually appreciate them, the ones that need it, and are actually doing it in a consistent fashion? Don't punish employees for thinking out of the box. If they see something that's better, let's go out and get it. How do we model the behavior that you expect from your employees? And so what it's talking about here is if we are the management of a company and we follow a completely different set of rules than our employees, think of how this causes the reduction of the engagement. You know, if you've got some of the CEOs of some of these major companies that are getting like 100 times what the employees are earning, and really, the problem is that are they really worth that amount of money? It's very, very questionable. The point being is that if we are not living and walking the walk or talking the talk, then our employees will tend to not be as engaged, and therefore it's going to reduce the value of the company over the long haul because our results are going to be diminished. And then offer individual, honest, and constructive feedback and performance. And so again, how do we do that? Which is the next slide that we're talking about, is measurement issues. How do we measure good performance? And how do we do that? And so from a salesperson, it's different than a production worker, or a production worker is better or different than a technician, or a technician is different than a nonprofit employee that's out working. And so how do we measure what is good performance actually to us? And how do we be consistent with that? And so these are the issues that we are going to just show you briefly how technology can help us solve some of this stuff. How do we define employee roles, results, and measurements? So understand really it's how do we sit down with our employees and say, listen, this is your role, this is what you need to do. These are the results that need to come out of the role that you've picked or we've given you as an employee, and these are the measurements that we're going to use to measure you as far as performance. But if we're doing that in a vacuum, it's not going to work, because the next one, how do we get the employees to accept, or the acceptance for this measurement, right? So they need to be involved in defining the roles, the results, and the measurements. It has to be a bi-directional type discussion between the employer and the employee so that we can sit down and at the end of the day, everybody is very, very clear, our roles, what the results are, and what measurements we're going to be using. And then we can use technology, which we're going to be just showing in a second, to help us with that. So if we're production workers, what are we talking about? Well, if we can consistently say what's good, what's not about a particular production, and then we give them the information. Give them the information which basically says, hey, you're 54%, excuse me, I went too far, but if you're 54% productive, right, where are you at? Is this good or is this bad? Is this, this one's doing better than that one? Are we evaluating equipment as well as employees or subcontractors? Again, see, it doesn't just make employees that are in here, even though that's what we're talking about. What we want to do is drive the engagement. And so they're looking for something that they can measure, that we can go back and praise them when it's coming, right? We automatically need to know that, listen, if 54% is bad and 69% is good, this guy gets praised, this one does not get praised. Okay? So let's look at it from a sales perspective. And again, from a sales perspective, we can build reporting into the systems now, into these accounting systems now, so that you can get reports by the salesperson. And we can have what they call conditional fields in here, so that it shows red, green, and orange. I mean, this should be yellow, I would think. But the bottom end is we know that this is bad, we know that this is good, we know that this is mediocre. And I know that, but not only the supervisors need to know that, the owners need to know that, the employees need to know that. Everybody needs to know what's good, what's wrong, what are the measurements that we're measuring you on. The other stuff, really, let's take a look at it from this point of view. Why wouldn't we use customer satisfaction? There is systems out there called Net Promoter Scores, which actually evaluate how the customers feel about us. And so they come in, we do a job, they will come back and they'll say, listen, from 1 to 10 or from 0 to 10, evaluate how we did, okay? And if we don't get a 9 or a 10, I'm not happy with the employees. And so really what it does is it causes us not only to focus on our margins, which might be important from a sales perspective, but let's focus on how the customer feels after that transaction. Because if we've got a salesperson which is doing very, very well on the margin, but the customers come out of there feeling like they're never going to deal with us again, the satisfaction rating is low. Therefore, we want to make sure that everybody understands how we're measuring things so that it's in congruence between the company, the employees, the supervisor, everybody's on the same page. This is the critical part. But once we've got the critical part done and got all of the measurements done, we can use technology to be able to do it consistently on a basis so that everybody understands where they are. There's a book that's out there right now that's it's called Why Management Sucks and How to Fix It. And it's by Kelly Reisler and I think it's Jody Thompson. But I think they were two gals that worked in Best Buy. But it's all about this results-oriented work environment. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of ROWE, but it's ROWE. But what it does is it really makes us focus on the roles and these results that we need to get out of them and the measurements and how everybody can be on the same page. So it's a very, very good book if anybody's looking to read some additional material about this. So the next slide, what we're talking about is, okay, let's say we need to monitor due date delivery. And so for a nonprofit organization, we need to have services delivered on time, right, to make sure that the clients are happy, whether we're doing home care or anything else. But the problem is, or the point is that you can use the system to actually track when the thing is due, and so you can track whether our employees or the supervisors or the subcontractors have done that work and monitor it very, very well. So if they're late, then we would have repercussions to that. So everybody needs to understand the measurements to it. Okay? And there's lots of other ones here too, but today we just really want to give you just an overview and a flavor on how we can use technology to help us engage our employees. If we've got consistent measurements, we know who to praise, we know who to actually try to improve as far as their performance is concerned. Okay. So the next one we want to talk about is business improvement. And this is something that's dear to my heart because, I mean, really what happens is that I believe as a company, and this is something that ACEMA certainly believes in using management processes and technology as effectively as possible to make everybody more successful. And the point being is that it's not just a destination where you arrive. It's a continual improvement where you're always having to go out and look and see what's going on with new technology. And to do this and engage the employees, we need to give the employees a voice, as it's talked about in number 2 on those 11 ways. Okay? We need to encourage and support the employees' growth by offering challenges, stretching, and developing their skills, right? Because lots of people don't want to be stuck in a job that's not going anywhere. They want to actually be improving and getting better, right? And we need to involve our workforce in process improvement activities. Okay, so all of these 4 or 3, I should say, of those 11 are coming underneath this business improvement type heading. And so what are the issues that come into that? How do we create a culture of continuous improvement, as I was talking about? How do we involve employees in the design and use of new technology? Because if we do not, and the employees don't buy into it, the technology is going to fail. And you'll see lots and lots of various technology that people have put in, and it is not used, and it's purely because the employees did not buy in, therefore they did not want to actually use it, and if they don't use it, you can't force them to use it. It really becomes irrelevant, and the whole system fails. But how do we encourage our employees to continually look for ways to improve, right? Both themselves and the business. Because if you get into this where it's me and a union against you and the company, eventually you're all going to lose, right? I mean, if you look at General Motors, I mean, at one particular point, I mean, I think their benefits for every vehicle I think I remember reading about 5 years ago was over $3,500 of every car was benefits going to the union employees. The company was losing money, right? And yet nobody seemed to care. The unions felt that, well, that's not really them, that's the business. Well, if they don't understand it's the employees and the business that need to work together, they are crazy, because over the long haul, that's what happens. So this is this business improvement that we're talking about. So on the improvement, what we've got is a business life cycle. And so in this business life cycle, really what we want to talk about is that when you go out and buy a new system, right? So you go out and explore and you say, okay, what's available? You go out and buy the system, right? You implement the system, which is really, really painful, right, with most of these darn systems. Then you finally, well, I might not be able to use all of it, but I can use these particular pieces and I can actually just kind of make it work. So it's really not very good, but it's kind of working. And we hit what we call this midlife crisis of systems, where the employees are using it, but they're doing lots of stuff either outside the system, or they're saying, well, this is the way I do it. It's not the way that the system should be used. The system could be way, way better. But we hit this cycle where it just starts to go plunk and plunk and back into this normalized where people will not go further. And there is a huge, huge benefit being able to sit back and just say, listen, I know it's going to be painful, but we need to go to the optimization to make it work as best as it can work. And this is worse because what happens is as new technology comes out, we're back into the same loop and we keep hitting this again and again, and we never seem to get to this where the systems are actually flying. And so if we allow this to happen, this normalization where we don't go past, this is where the employee engagement drops off. People are so unhappy with the systems because they're always coming back saying, our software is terrible, the software sucks, it doesn't work, right? And it may not be anything to do with the software. Understand that software is only 50% of the solution. 50% is processes and procedures to make it work. And so it's a matter of making sure that you move past this normalization and go up to optimization and then start the cycle. But never stop at this normalized because it is painful and you tend to only get just a very, very small percentage of the value of the technology that's available. And so how can you get past that? And sure, there's ways to improve. And so the next slide is how do we do our processes? We do business improvement, right, where we go in. And it's really this understanding what's going on in your systems, diagnosing and getting all of the issues on the table, analyzing what's out there, what's available as far as technology and management best practices, prioritizing it into a benefit to the customer, not to us as the consultants, but to you, the customers. What is the best way to make it happen? Develop a plan, right, this roadmap, and then implement. And so understand it becomes continuous because you'll never stop. Technology is going to keep changing. The world is going to keep changing. The world, I mean, did anybody guess that the oil price was going to go down to $30 a barrel again, right? Heavens no. And so the point is that we have to be always taking a look at what we can do to make things a little bit better as far as how we do our business, how we run our organizations. And so these process enhancements, we do them inside our offices, but this is something that if you want to try to do it yourself, please take a look and just go through it. The next slide also talks about, steps and a step-by-step approach on how to do that. Very, very similar to it, goes into a little bit more detail. But again, you can do this yourselves or you get outside help with a consultant because they've got a different pair of eyes that can view it from a bird's eye view and see the pieces and see where the actual weaknesses are in your particular solutions. Okay? All right, so now let's go to the next one, which is talking about access to information. And so here's another engagement issue which is causing problems and how technology can maybe help you. So be open and honest with your employees. Give them all the information, not just the information directly related to their jobs. See, and understand is that if you think that we can isolate our employees, you're crazy. Because what tends to happen is this, is that the employees are going to think their own things, and they might be thinking completely wrong what you're actually thinking. You might be closing down a division because you're going to make and invest way more money in another division where the employees are able to work. They're going to come back and say, oh, that evil, rotten employer, all they're trying to do is just hose us as employees. So we need to be open and honest with what's going on so they see the big picture. If they see that the profitability of the company is going down, you obviously need to have that discussion where they understand that it can't be that way forever, because if it stays that way, you're going to have to go out of business. You cannot afford to lose money forever. And don't isolate employees, right? And so, because really this water cooler chat where they have these informal discussions is happening, right? Let them do that, because it builds good teamwork and gives better morale at the overall organization and engages the employees to work harder for the companies. So how do we use technology to do this, and what kind of issues do we have? Okay. So the issues are, how do we give access to the information when the employees want it? The employee needs information and they're at home. How do we give it to them so that they've got it, right? The next one, so how do we allow easy access to the information? So see, not only is it, when they want it, but how do we make it so that it's easy so they can get that information without having to go through a whole bunch of processes to make it happen, right? And then how do we stop access to sensitive information? We don't need to give them everything, but we certainly want to help them, right, make the decision so that we all move in the same direction. How do we encourage the employees to work together? And how do we allow the employees to work as a team, which is kind of the same, right? But this access to information issues, technology can certainly help with, okay? Because really what we want to do is we want to treat the employees like adults, right? Give them the information. Let's treat them like they actually know what's going on. Even any worker that's out there is going to understand if the company's losing money, you're going to have to make some changes, okay? And so they want to make sure that where they fit into the overall picture and make sure that we're improving on that. So let's talk about access. And so again, we've got self-help systems. This is when the employees want it, right? So that they can go in and take a look and see what's going on with the pay history, when they've had time off, how many sick days have they had. I apologize that this is U.S. Information, but 401ks are the same as RRSPs in Canada. But it's exactly the same information. Is what benefits do I have? And I can drill down and take a look at this. So this is looking at a world from a HR point of view, but again, it's giving information so that we can let the employees have the self-help so that they can feed themselves the information. You can go in and add life events. Let's say I have a new baby and I'm, who knows better the name of the baby than Keith, who's actually the employee, right? So let them put that in so our administrative people don't have to do that. And so the employee is happier and they're more engaged because they've got access to the information they need. And the employers and the administration are more happy because they don't have to spend all of their time doing these menial tasks of being able to give out information and say, oh yeah, by the way, you've got 49.53 available for you to use. Okay? Good. So self-help can certainly help with the employee engagement because it gives them the access to the information that they need when they need it. So let's look at some other stuff. So let's say that you're an employee or a supervisor that's working on jobs. Well, why don't we give them the reporting so that they can see exactly where they are in their job? Or maybe let's just take a look at the particular employee and they've got a budget of 50 hours on it. Where are they at with that job and how they're supposed to get it done? So if we can give them that information, what it does is it allows them to understand where they fit in the overall cog of things, right? If we give the employee that's working on the job what the overall job is looking like, they will have more information about, gee, we are making or we are losing money on this. What can I do to help with that? And so again, giving them the information certainly builds up and enhances that engagement that they've got. They become part of a whole where they start to pull in the direction of the overall company and help out the supervisors, and the supervisors are helping out the overall management of the company, and the management is helping out the owners of the company so that everybody is pulling in the same direction to actually improve the engagement and improve the way that everybody works together. Okay? Now we talk about web access. And so let's understand, everybody's talking about, the NetSuites and all of this web and all of this fancy stuff. Well, it's not just about this fancier interface into the systems. What it allows us to do is give you this graphical information. So when I log into the system, it will give me the reports that are important to me. So if I'm the manager, this is maybe the reports that I've got. If I am a supervisor, it might have the jobs that I'm working on. If I'm the supervisor of a nonprofit, it might have all my employees and what's going on and what's the billing or not billing that's going out with regards to the various staff inside of that nonprofit. Or it might be how many donations are coming in. So understand, I can change the particular format and the reporting that's coming off on a web-based system so that it gives you the important information that's important to you as the individual. And because of that, it tends to drive up the engagement because the employees can see what's going on in their world and they can see how they fit into the overall organization. Okay? So web is certainly something that's coming, but understand this is what it's there for and this is what it needs to do. Okay? So then let's talk about this access with ad hoc reporting. And again, so this is looking at budget variances from a financial point of view. So if you're the accountant or the controller of a company, or maybe you're a department head or a manager, you might be looking at this saying, okay, what's going on in my department? Nonprofit as well, right? So if this is your employee benefits for a nonprofit, if it's in red, that means you're over what you're supposed to be. Okay? If it's in green, it's good. If you're in right, so the bottom line with this stuff is this. It gives you the information so that you can make decisions and you are more accountable for the information that's coming to your department. These engines that you've got are very, very easy to use, and you can just drag it from here, you point at it right up on top, you grab it, you drop it down to here. What it actually will do is actually rebuild this whole report into the format. So it's easy to use. It makes it so that you've got access to information. And if you're being measured on this kind of stuff, right, this is what's important to you as a organization. This is what's important to the management. Everybody can make decisions which are similar. So access to information and letting them be able to see the big picture, this is what gives it to you. But understand is that I can actually restrict this down. So if this is a department head, right, they would only get just their department. They wouldn't be able to look at anything else if that's what you wanted. Okay? Okay, good. All right, the next one is talking about just resource planning. And so again, if you've got a number of resources that are under your control, or maybe you're looking at the overall organization, you can take a look at it and just see it from different views. And so from a resource planning point of view, there is other reporting which is available in the technology that you can use to actually see what's going on with all of the resources for the whole company or just your division. You can control what they get to see. But they can certainly come in and see exactly what's going on so that they can make better decisions. So the next one on is helping people perform their jobs. And this is one of the ones that we were talking about with that normalization stuff, right? But how do we engage employees with this? So give employees a voice. So how do they do that? They're the ones that know better about how to do their jobs. They are the best positioned to see what's going on. They may have already taken a look at some technology that might help them. They might have already talked to some competitors or somebody else that is in the similar type job that is doing things better. And so give them a voice so they can help you do their job better, right? And listen to them when it's beneficial to the company. Prioritize the usability of the investment. You do not want to buy technology which is too complex or just doesn't work. Because if the employees don't like it, if the employees won't work with it, it is not going to work. And so you need to prioritize the usability and making sure that it will actually work for your organization and the employees. Okay? And then again, it says be open and honest. So understand, because there's a trade-off sometimes in here, right? You might be prioritizing and saying, listen, this particular process, if you do this process, it's going to take you an extra 5 minutes a day. But your 5 minutes a day could save the administration or these other people 4 hours, right? If you've got an organization which is not open and honest and they don't understand where this benefit is going to benefit them, right, then they are not going to spend the extra 5 minutes and it's going to cost the corporation as a whole. And so really what you want to do is make sure that you're dealing with all of this stuff. So how do we help them do their jobs better, right? And if we are being honest and open, right, and we say, listen, it might cost you an extra 5 minutes, but this is the savings, and if you are in a bonus plan for the overall company, again, the engagement's going up because you're working as a team, not as an individual. Okay? So what are the issues that we've got from performing their jobs? How do we allow employees to drive process change, right? How do we actually, so that they will come up and say, listen, here's a better way to do my job? How do we encourage employees to ask for help? Hey, listen, I think that there's some technology that might help us. Can we do something? How do we allow the employees to become part of the solution? Because if they're not part of the solution, they're outside. If they're outside, the chances of success drop significantly. So technology, what can we use? Well, workflow. So if you've got people that are, maybe technology challenged and they're saying, listen, this is just too complex for me, let's take all of the complexity out and let's build workflows so this one gets done before that one, this one gets done before that one. It becomes easier for them. So they don't feel like, I'm just stupid, I can't handle this kind of stuff. That's baloney, right? I mean, right now, I think it's a 38-year-old person that does not remember a world without a computer. So understand that computers are not that good. Everybody's got smartphones. And so let's build these workflows to make it easier for them to use the technology so that they can get value out of it. The next one is that let's put these apps. There's apps everywhere, right? Everybody's got applications for this. I mean, I use a ski app that tracks how fast I'm going, how many runs I made. It's great because now I can't lie to the people, right? I have to tell them exactly how many runs and how many vertical feet I skied. But this is also available from the Field Connect. So your guys out in the field would have their daily schedule, weekly schedule. They'd see the jobs that are dispatched. They see the jobs that are currently being worked on, right? Or your salespeople can actually see what's going on. And so this is available on tablets, on smartphones. And so all of this stuff is available for your employees to help them do their job better. And so it's just a matter of us making sure as part of that business improvement steps that we're always looking for the technology that's going to improve our companies and save us money. Okay? The other one is helping perform our jobs with analytics. And analytics is these systems are able to go into our accounting data and then help us make decisions based on the analytics for it. This is talking about an inventory system. But you see, how much use would it be if you are the guy that's actually involved with having to order the inventory to see exactly what's going on with the history on sales, right? Taking a look at what your forecast and historical forecasts were, right, compared to actuals, and actually forecasting out into the future to help you with that. And so if we had a system that can do that for us and then help us so that we can, find the wheat instead of all of the chaff that we've got, get rid of all of the garbage, but let's just really help us analyze the information so we can make better decisions, we can do our jobs better. Okay? And if we're doing our jobs better and we can use this technology, our employees will be more engaged to actually help us in the long haul. Okay. So the next one and the last one that we wanted to talk about is the caring for employees. And again, so what are the ways that we engage employees by caring for them? Well, providing health and welfare programs, right? Being able to invest in their health. If they think we are out there trying to help them, because we really need to be, not think that we're going to do it. We actually have to be in the business of helping out our employees, right? And to do that, right, how do we provide adequate sick time? How do we provide adequate health care for them? How do we make sure that they've got, group benefits and all of that other fun stuff, right? And then encourage and support our employee growth, right? So this is caring for the employees' long-term skill levels and actually the health and well-being of the overall organization and employee themselves. Okay? What are the issues that we got? Well, how do we insist them to meet their goals? See? They've got goals. Are they in congruence with the company goals or the organization goals? If you've got an employee that is currently working as a healthcare worker and they want to become an accountant, God forbid, because that's what I am, but the bottom line is if they want to become an accountant, how do we help them meet those goals? You're going to say, hey, listen, I know you're a healthcare worker right now. Maybe we can give you some extra time, or maybe we'll schedule you around so you can attend some of the classes that you want to do. See, this caring for the employee to help them is certainly going to go a long way for engagement. How do we encourage employees to work together? As we were talking about in that previous example, if a guy's spending 5 minutes to save somebody else 4 hours, how do we work together for the business and develop these skills? So here's the skills to help you with that 5 minutes. We're going to give you something out of that as well, but how do we make that all work together? And then how do we assist employees with better health and wellness, right? So whether it's, fitness clubs or whatever, but, how do we help our employees to be better? And so how can we do that? And with technology, there is talent management systems which you can build into the human resource systems that are out there, right? And these talent management systems are basically to help the employee right from the learning stage to the performance monitoring stage that we were talking about in measurement to the actual career management and making sure that they become the accountant they want to be, okay? Because if we're working together with the employees, they understand that we care. If they understand that we care, they tend to be more engaged. Okay, and that's what we're looking for out of this overall solution. Okay, what are other ways to do that? Well, in the HRMS system, again, we've got these automation forms so that instead of having to spend time filling out all these goofy forms, they can do it once and it moves across. Again, this is talking about some U.S. stuff, but the bottom line is this, is that we can give you the self-service at this. We can give you the self-service from the employees, the managers. We can help everybody get on board with the new hires. And to do that, we streamline everything so that it's easier to use, and we allow the employees to be able to be flexible and caring as far as what their future is about. Benefit tracking. So understand, we're talking different generations now, the generation X, Y, and Z. I mean, I'm kind of one of the older ones of this whole overall group, but the bottom line is that you look at the new millennials now that are coming in, their whole focus is completely different, right? Ours was more work-oriented, where we're going work, 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 right? They're coming back saying, okay, what's in it for me, right? And so how do we compensate those guys so that everybody's on an equal playing field? And so there's this give and take that comes in there, but if they would rather have time off than wages, then make sure that that's an option for your company. And so with these benefit plans, with the HR systems that they've got, you can add all of this functionality into that so that you don't have to do it this old way that it's talking about in here. You can do it the new way, which is how they want it. The more flexible we are, the better off it's going to be. Okay? So then to kind of summarize with this stuff, and I apologize I've been going fairly quickly through here, but we wanted to try to do this in around a half an hour. But the keys to success of this is that it's aligning technology, software, and processes with the business and organization strategy. They've got to be together. You cannot have them different, right? You can't put in technology or processes that don't match your organization. And so with that, it's management buy-in and making sure that everybody understands that employee engagement is critical to the long-term success of your organization. Okay? And once they buy in, then don't throw rocks at the systems that we're trying to put in to give you the employee engagement, which is those 11 ways that we originally talked about. Understand that the company needs to accept the responsibility for the engagement and improvement for employees. It's their responsibility. So you might hire a consulting firm like Acima, but the bottom line is this, is that it has to be your responsibility. We can help guide you, but you have got to be the actual bicycle. We can be the training wheels on it, but you guys have got to be the bicycle and be able to ride it after. So it's got to be your acceptance of a responsibility to move everybody forward and engage employees. And so part of that is that a company needs to plan, set goals, and provide the appropriate feedback. What's working, what's not working. Let's make sure that the employees understand that they can actually complain about stuff. It's not complaining. Let's go back to this constructive criticism, I guess, where they can say, listen, I think this is a better way to make this happen. Don't just say, hey, I think this sucks, I'm not doing it. No, that's not acceptable. You want to create, as the bottom one's talking about, a culture where they actually come back with recommendations to improve, not just, I don't like it, I'm not using the darn thing. So to be successful at any of this stuff, we have to change our culture so that we create more openness, this honesty that they're talking about in those 11 ways, and engage the employees. And it's going to take us time. It's not something that can happen overnight. Okay? So that'll finish it up. What we've got is just some information, if anybody's looking for it, on our website that you can go into. It's an ebook, which is just talking a little bit more about employee engagement and how you can obtain that, and just using technology to make that happen. And then to finish off, this is the questions. And really what we do is we believe that people deserve systems that work. We really want to make sure that we're working in partnership with you. It's not us against you. We want to win. You guys want to win. Your employees want to win. Because if everybody's winning, then we're all going in the same direction. And I think that the future looks very, very bright. Well, thank you very much for your time.